Welcome to the Collective Experience by the BrwnGrlz Collective, a dynamic platform where we celebrate innovation, creativity, and the power of Black excellence. Each episode, we sit down with change makers, visionary industry leaders, and groundbreaking entrepreneurs across the worlds of fashion, tech, education, business, and more. This is more than just an interview series. It is a space where stories are shared, wisdom is exchanged, and inspiration flows. Together, we are building a community that thrives on collaboration, empowerment, and the drive to uplift one another. So get ready to meet these women redefining industries and shaping the future. This is the Collective Experience, where we take center stage. Mark your calendars for these dope community events. Catch a good Black game night every last Sunday at Lux Life, where games, laughs, and live vibes live. Support Live Soul with Soulful Touch, now seeking sponsors for their next big show. Bring the kids out May 17th for Little Chefs, No Bake, Fun with Magnolia Nature Club. See you there.
Hello and welcome to the Collective Experience, brought to you by the BrwnGrlz Collective, your space for inspiration and connection. I'm your host today, Shemaya Wari, and today we're thrilled to introduce a guest whose talent and charisma light up the screen. Joining us is the incredible Sierra Artemus, a journalist and television personality. She's making waves in media as a lifestyle host for a popular news station. Sierra brings stories to life with authenticity, vibrancy, and heart. From uncovering the latest trends to connecting with the community, her passion for storytelling truly shines. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about her journey, her career, and how she continues to redefine what it means to be a voice in the industry. Let's dive in.
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be able to sit down with you. I just think that you're amazing, all the wonderful things that you're doing in the community. So this season, we want to switch it up a little bit and do something different. We're calling this segment of the show Icebreakers. So what we'll be doing is basically it'll be a wheel. I'm going to pick a question, it's this or that, and you get to choose.
All right.
Should I be hearing something?
All right.
All right. Spinning. It's almost in the middle.
Late nights or early mornings? Late nights. I hate getting up in the morning. I am not a morning person at all. The only time I'll ever say that I'm like a morning person is if I have something super exciting the next day. And I'm looking forward to it. Like Christmas, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I cannot get to sleep at night and I can't wake up in the morning. That's just me.
So what about late nights, early mornings in the sense of when do you do your best work? When are you the most creative and when it comes to like just doing what you do?
Neither. It's a midday. It's a midday thing. I need to have been up a little bit. I need to have been my brain has to, it's almost like when you warm a car up in the morning, you got to kind of give it a chance to warm up. Like I need a little bit of time to warm up. But if it's something that I'm exciting and I'm looking forward to, the endorphins help me all the way. So it's easier for me to do things like in the middle of the day. Once I have done things that I need to do, I get something good to eat and I don't have any distractions, then I'm in that creative mode. I have ADHD, so like I have hyper focus, but I'm easily distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely can agree with that. I would say that I'm more like a late night person, but like you said, if it's something exciting to look forward to, whatever works, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Mommy, are you spinning the wheel?
We're doing another one.
I couldn't go around the tree.
All right, let's see what this one is. Peas and carrots Mixed or separate? This is interesting. Peas and carrots. I have an aversion to peas. I mean, peas are okay, depending on like if it's like hibachi, I could do peas and I can do
Mhm.
carrots. I like carrots over peas, but when I was in preschool, we had this preschool. I had a lady that used to watch us, and the peas were like overcooked and they were mushy, and it just turned me off from peas altogether. So peas is not in my top 10, top 8, top 200. But
So definitely separate then.
yeah, I'm more of a steamed vegetable person, and same for carrots. Like if they're steamed, I'm okay with it. But peas is not a go-to vegetable for me. Like peas is definitely nice. So it's definitely carrots over peas.
I could do peas and like fried rice, something like that.
And that's what I mean. Like in hibachi, I could do
Yeah.
it. I could do it. It's great as it's almost like a comparison of having a feature on a track. Peace
Right.
is a great feature, but it is not the main attraction at all for me.
I feel you on that. Okay, we got one more. One more. Let's see what this one is.
Major love to our sponsors for stepping in to make all of this happen. IAS Games for family and friend game nights. Out the Barns Entertainment for your video editing needs. Camera Guys Inc. for video photography and your editing needs. Intro music by Sedasia and music provided by Grlz. Your contributions keep us going and help us grow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Heels or sneakers? It's going to be sneakers for me. I am not, it took me years to get into heels, to be a girly girl. I have always considered myself a tomboy. That is just me. I like to climb fences, climb trees, jump over fences. And I like heels. I'm all great. I'm all for heels, depending on whatever the setting is. But if I were to go to like, my go-to is going to be sneakers, and not even sneakers, like some flats, some Uggs. Like I currently have on like Uggs. Like I like comfy couture. Yes, Desiree, we can see you.
Sorry.
Oh, Desiree, it says Jasmine.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I was like, well, maybe not.
Oh Lord.
Desiree does say Jasmine on there.
Yeah.
It's fine because I can.
Oh, okay, okay.
Create a little bubble.
Got you. All right, cool. So we learned a few things about you, which is fun. I feel like icebreakers are good just to get the conversation flowing and things like that. Okay. Can you tell that I don't do these interviews, Sierra?
You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you. Woo! All right. So introspective. So I feel like you've told us some things that maybe a lot of people wouldn't know about you, but what's something that you think that people don't know about you, or maybe they just have like a misconception about who you are?
I will say I have a very. I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this. I'm very community driven. I care more about people, and I hate to say people pleaser. I care more about people than I do myself sometimes. I think sometimes I put so much focus on other people that I really, really neglect myself. And and I'm doing better about it. I force myself to do things for me because I'm one of those people, I get joy out of helping other people. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter how I feel, what I'm going through, seeing someone else feel good makes me feel good. So I tend to give a lot and I don't really take much.
Okay.
Gotta kind of force myself.
That's like a hard thing too, because like, especially you are a parent, right? You're a mother. So like sometimes it comes naturally to just be selfless like that.
Oh, even before him. And even more so now that I have a child. It's especially, having that perspective of a mother, especially when it comes to kids. I've always loved kids, but now it's even more so just because I have this perspective of a parent. And so it's probably intensified. Definitely intensified.
So for someone that's watching, a woman that might feel similar in terms of like just how they are giving and selfless, and like you said, a people pleaser. I think it's okay to call it what it is. You have to call a thing, right? What would you say to those people? Because again, this is something that would be considered like a misconception, because
Yeah.
you're doing all the things, you're hitting all the things, and it's like that balance is there. How do you maintain that balance? And what are some of the things that you do to try to make sure you're not overextending and you're still able to feed the need to be able to give? Because it seems like it's a part of who you are.
Now, this may be an unpopular response to this, but once you've had experience with helping people, especially if that's a passion of yours, you kind of get to understand. You get burned sometimes. There's some people that take advantage of your. I mean, you want people to take advantage, but you don't want to be taken advantage of. But there are some people that will. When they understand that you're this type person, like they will, all right, I know that she's going to. And so what you have to learn, even as a parent, professional, it doesn't matter. You have to learn how to say no. Learn the gift of no. No has this negative connotation attached to it, right? When someone tells you no, it's something you're not granted access. But it's okay not to grant people access. Sometimes you have to think about you. There's been so many times where I've said yes, and then I've gotten into a place, and then I'm like, I really wish I would have said no. And what you don't want is you don't want to live in this space of regret. You want to live in a space where you can. It's almost like the same as shopper's remorse. You buy something, you really have your heart set on it, you want it, but it's not necessarily something you need. And then once you get it and you have it and you think and you look at your checking account and you're like, did I really need it, or was it something that just made me feel good in the moment? So even with things that I buy, I think about, is this something that's going to make me feel good in the moment, or is this something going to bring me everlasting joy? And it's the same thing with decisions that you make. When people ask you to do things, you have to be able to say to yourself, is this something that is going to grant me temporary happiness, or is it going to extend beyond and give me everlasting joy? Like, I have to be able to look at it and say, man, that was a great decision, and not feel remorseful in that situation. So even when you're giving, it's hard to be a giver, because people can look at it as, okay, you're giving, but then there's some people that feel like, okay, you could possibly be getting something out of it. What are you getting out of it? But I think there's other people like myself, and I don't harness that burned. Whenever you've been burned by people, there's some people that are just not used to people genuinely caring. And when you have been burned many times, you don't really expect people to really give in a space where it's genuine.
Right.
And so you have people who feel people are disingenuous, and then you are a person who feels sometimes people are, taking advantage but not necessarily needing. But at the same time, it's when you give, you have to be able to release. You have to be able to release and accept that what you've done, and just hope that this person isn't taking advantage.
Right.
And because if you change, then there will be someone that really does need it. And because you've been burned so many times, you probably, you might be ruining it for someone else. So you got to just continue to have a heart of openness, and just in your mind, just assume and just feel like, I just really hope they need it. I know that was like a big, broad answer, but I just wanted to cover I want to be able to cover the perspective.
No, it makes sense. So like you talked a lot about, like, again, we're talking about how you are active in the community and how that might be a misconception, but I feel like that might have something to do with what has inspired you to take the journey that you are on now. And is that something?
Passion and identity. Is this the question?
I don't know what Desiree.
Because I can answer it. Passion and identity. Okay, so I think this is something that's very relevant. There are a lot of people that have passion. They're passionate about what it is they want to do. But a lot of times, let's put it this way. If you're passionate about something and you do it long enough, sometimes it feels like it's your identity. You have to be able to separate what it is you love from who you are. And you have to be able to look at the entire scope of everything. Like, if I'm no longer doing this thing that I'm passionate about, who am I then? You know, sometimes we get so bogged down in the work that we do that we tether ourselves to the work that we do, and we allow what we do to define who we are.
Right.
And so it's really hard to distinguish the two. So it's very important for you to understand who you are and what you do. They're not the same. You just are a part of what you do is a part of who you are, not who you are.
Your identity and what you do are two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about like identity and having a separate identity from what you do. But could you tell us more about what it is that you do, your initiative, your business, and how does that impact your community and industry?
All right, so I work for WIS TV. We have two lifestyle shows, Soda City Live and Soda City Living. Soda City Live was my baby. I basically got this job. I remember the end of 2021. I was just thinking about the things that I wanted to do for 2022 and wanting to be intentional about the things that I did in the new year. I was a new mom. I had my son in 2019, and then 3 months, we had the pandemic. I started working in television in 2017. And then when I had my son, I was pregnant with him when I left my first television job. And I did a couple of freelance opportunities, worked as a contractor between 2020 and 2021. But I knew 2022, I wanted to get back in television. There was something about being able to reach people in the community in a very broad way that I wasn't able to do alone. You know, when you work, and I wanted to do things, and I'm like, hey, Sierra Artemus is doing it, and people are like, who? So whenever you work with an already established brand, it kind of adds a backing to you. So now it's like you're associated with the work in this brand. So people are like, all right, Sierra who? Sierra with WIS, Sierra with Wolo, Sierra, you know, it kind of gives you, it helps you to build your brand on top of this already existing brand. And I just remember, I've always considered myself to be that person that's like very busy. I love being busy. I'll do 3 jobs or something at a time. I've always held at least 2 to 3 jobs. And I had a lot of downtime as a stay-at-home mom. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the contract jobs, but I was like, I really want to get back in television. I didn't, you know, there's not many people that work in the field they went to school for. And I was like, I was determined. This is something I want to do, something I've always wanted to do, and I want to do it. So much thought, much prayer, many conversations. I wanted to go back and go from being a producer, which is what I did in my first job, to being more so in front of the camera. So I applied for a reporter position, and the producer there saw that I had producer experience, and they were looking for someone to help with this lifestyle show. And so I started this lifestyle show, Soda City Live. It already had a name, just needed a song, needed the branding. And so I kind of helped with the branding, kind of what the show would be, what this layout of the show would be, which is what we call a rundown. And, you know, a lot of things was just throwing things to the wall and seeing what would stick.
Right.
One thing that I was able to take from my experience, and one thing that I really loved about my first job was, you know, in between the bang 'em up, shoot 'em up, kill 'em up news is what I used to call it. There were these moments where we would interview people in the community. And I always felt like there are a lot of things that is going on in the community. And even before then, you know, I'm born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. This is where, you know, a lot of these shows these television shows that I work with are based. And living here my entire life, I always felt like I never know what's going on. I never know what's going on in the community. I never know what's happening. And when you see a flyer really doesn't tell you much other than who, what, when, where, and why. You don't really get the full description of what something is. And even with businesses, you see a business, but there's a lot of times that you want to go somewhere, but you don't really know much about it. I want to know what the experience is like before I go and waste my time, right? And so what I did was
who all gonna be over there?
Right, who all gonna be there? So what I did was I took some of these elements that I learned again from my previous employer, places I've worked before, and some of the things that I felt was really needed. And I said, you know what? Let's just do a whole show on that.
Behind the scenes, there's a lot of hard work that goes into this production, and we couldn't do it without our amazing sponsors, advertisers, and crew.
Yeah. And let's talk about things that are happening, not just in our communities, but things that are happening in the nation that impact us, things that everybody's talking about. When you wake up in the morning and you scroll on your phone, what are people talking about? You know, yeah, go ahead.
From the time that you started that, right, with Soda
Yeah.
City Live. Is there a moment in that time that you've been there to where you were like, wow, like a aha moment of like, wow, this is really creating some type of impact in our community?
Yes.
Maybe could you share that with me?
Yeah, so I'll share two. It's been several. Um, Starting a lifestyle show, especially with the pre-existing brand, is very, very hard. There's an emotional toll. There's a physical toll. There's so much because you have to make things perfect. And when you have something new and fresh like this, it's really hard to make it perfect when you have limited amount of time to do it. It just needs to be done. And there's a lot of things that didn't work. Like I said, we throw things to the wall, see what would stick, and a lot of times things would fall. And there will be times that I really beat myself up, especially, my first field was cosmetology. I worked in aesthetics for about 10 years before I even started working in journalism. I had my license when I got out of high school. And so you have people that are around your age, but they've been in this field in particular way longer than you have. And so it's almost like you feel like you're catching up. It's almost that feeling of staying back in school, watching your peers go before you, but I was thriving in the field that I already was in. So I'm trying to meet these standards, and I'm also putting this pressure on myself to be sure that this is something worthy enough for people who watch this show and have watched this, not the show, but have watched this television station for years, something that they would deem worthy of this station. And there were so many times that you some of the feedback wasn't positive, but you'll have people like I always use this example, and I would never say the name. There was a chef that we had on the show, and he did a wonderful job. And I thought nothing of it after. This is something great people can try to do at home, or they can reach out to him, have him do it. And he reached out to me and said, and this was a really low day for me, by the way. He said, when I left here, someone called and they gave me a deposit for me to do an event for them, and I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. And just coming on the show, it allowed me to be able to pay my rent. It's like, for me, I work really hard behind the scenes, and now in front of the scenes, there's a lot of things that goes, and I still work really hard behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that I don't do. I don't just pop up on TV at 11:30 and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And I think that's a misconception. A lot of people think, oh, you're not doing nothing, you just pop up on TV. No, we do a lot of work behind the scenes. But there's a lot. Like, to me, my job is just like a regular job. I've worked jobs for the past 20 something years of my life, and in my mind, my work is my work. So I don't see a lot of times I don't want to say productivity, because the productivity is there. I don't see the effects that it has. It's just me work. You go to work, work is work. Anybody that goes to work, work is work. And so to me, work is work. But when you have people come to you say, hey, being on your show legitimized my business, it has people reaching out to me, you don't really understand just the impact giving people this, allowing people to use your platform really does for them. Because to me, I see, I always say it's about 4 people a day, 5 days a week. You see about 20 to 50 people every single week for 365 days minus the weekends, for the past 3 years. And sometimes and I don't want to say desensitized, because I'm never desensitized. I'm a human. And I'm an empath. So I feel everything. Yeah. But sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the work that you don't really recognize the difference that a show like this is making. And I had someone that worked at this station. Now, mind you, historically, this is a conservative station. There's a lot of mixed races that watch this show, but there's a very primary conservative audience. For a long time, there's this thing in the community where there's certain stations that you feel as a Black person would give Black people in the community more of a chance, to put themselves out there. And so there was a gentleman that worked at the station for over 30 years. And we've had people that have come to the station for decades that have said that they've never seen the amount of, African Americans coming inside and sharing their stories than they had in the short span that we had this show. And it was a wonderful reflection, because, typically the only time that people really hear about, African Americans or Black people in the community, especially those who have never been exposed to us, is in the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and, other news shows where, as I refer to as the bang 'em up, shoot 'em up, kill 'em up, like the the hard news, the more violent stories. And so having a lifestyle show like Soda City Live was a way to show people that we're more than, you know, the bad news. We have good news as well. We're articulate, we're smart, we have businesses, we're driven, we're amazing. And it was great for me to be able to show us in a more positive light. And so, like I mentioned before, even on the days that were really tough for me, it was a great feeling to know on the back end we were making a difference.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I'm really proud to be a part of.
That's wonderful. And so with that, right, we're talking about legacy and impact. How do you see your legacy inspiring other Black and brown women to pursue their dreams?
I'll say I'm going to cover this from two angles. One, in the instance of the people that come on our show, I'll say if I were to give it a percentage, I would say 90% of the people we've had on our show have been women. And I would say of those women, I would like to say maybe 75% have been women of color.
Mhm.
And a lot of those women, there's tons of empowerment events. There's tons of women trying to help other people gain visibility in their respective fields. And I think not only having that representation of seeing the successful women that come on our platform, but actually my co-host and myself, Billie Jean Shaw, seeing us there. I think it gives a message that there is a space for you. There is a space for us. And I think what would be even more inspiring is not just seeing us, but to hear our stories. I don't personally know Billie Jean's story, but I know mine. You know, I've lived it. And I know where I came from and the dreams that I had and all the struggles that I went to get to where I am today. And to know where I've come from and to know where I am and to be even more excited about where I'm going and also very apprehensive because, you know, the future, that unknown it's a very scary place.
Yeah.
But to be able to share my journey with strangers, I mean, it's something. It's certainly something. And I say something because it's one of those things that you don't necessarily know how to describe. You know, when you go out and people say hey to you and you speak to people, when you're not in the public eye, it's like, okay, I have crossed paths with this person at some point in my life. I just got to think of where that place was. But when you're in television, you know, it could be that, but then it could also be you've either seen me at an event or you may have seen me on television. But for people to feel a personal connection with you, and say hey to you, say your name like they know you, like y'all go way back like a Cadillac with four flats, it really speaks to the job that you're doing. And I feel a sense of peace knowing that I have shown a side of myself that resonates with people enough for them to feel comfortable enough to speak to me and feel comfortable with me. And knowing that you're watching, knowing that you're seeing, lets me know that at some point you may have gravitated to me, and at some point, and not just me, the show and the people who have come on our show, and knowing that I leave inspired oftentimes, I'm sure they're also feeling inspired to go and pursue their dreams. It might be something that they're sitting on, something they've been wanting to work on for some time, but not necessarily carved out that time to do that. And hopefully by learning about these organizations, these events, and these people right here in our community and how they're able to be on a platform like ours will inspire them to, you know, stop sitting on what it is that they've been working on and put themselves in position that they can do the same.
Yeah, do the thing.
Yeah, do the thing.
Do the thing. I think that's wonderful. And just to, you know, speak to, like you said, just having that kind of basically you being like an avenue, you know, just a place for people to come and just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And also being like a form of representation of like, this is what you can do. This is what I'm doing, but this is also what you can do. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I felt that same way. I felt that same way watching Oprah as a child. You know, I watched shows like Ricky Lake and the Montel Williams show and, you know, the other ones, Maury, Jerry Springer, and, you know, those shows. But there was something Oprah did different for me. You know, she looked like me. and people wanted to hear what she had to say. They were genuinely interested in her opinions and the way that she showcased the people on her show. And that was one thing that I always wanted to do. And to kind of be able to do that on a local level, it's a wonderful feeling.
Well, that's great. I think that's awesome. So last but not least, we do have a paying it forward.
All right.
And what that is just a question. So, well, advice and a question. So what's
Yeah.
one piece of advice or wisdom you would share with the next woman that's here on the collective experience in this space? And what's one question you'd love to ask her?
So I would say the pieces of advice, because I think they're a collective piece. Do the research and then do the work. You know, a lot of times I think people see something done and it looks easy and they think they could just jump in and do it, but they don't necessarily realize the amount of work that goes into doing it. And I think doing research, for me, I'm always growing, I'm always evolving, and I'm always looking for ways to grow and evolve. And one thing that I do, and I have the what's the word I'm looking for? I have the advantage, working in a station like I do, is to be able to watch something that I've done and go back and watch it and critique myself. And I know some people may say, you know, you're being hard on yourself. Yes, I absolutely am. I could definitely go a little bit easier on myself, but I like to go back and watch it, you know, not just for myself, but to see, you know, I've always been that person. I don't know if anyone else is like this. I've heard that some people do this. After you've had a conversation, you go back in the mirror to look at yourself to see how you look when you said it, or how the other person may have perceived it. And it's the same way with me being able to go back and watch the recordings from interviews that I've done. I always go back and watch, one, to critique myself, but also to make sure that moving forward, you know, I'm very careful about how I ask questions, careful about how I respond to them, because the way you intend things may come differently for the person that's receiving it. So I like to kind of go back and watch. And I also like to watch. I've always loved Tamron Hall. I absolutely adore her. Sometimes I watch the Today Show. It's an affiliate of ours, so it kind of comes on and we're watching our station all day. But I look at the way, oh, and Jamie Foxx as well, and other celebrities that do shows, Jennifer Hudson, Sherry, and other people that have these talk shows, these daytime talk shows, to see how they engage with people, how they ask questions, how they, you know, how they phrase things. And I ain't gonna hold you. Sometimes I utilize AI. Like, I'll ask AI, how should I say this? You know, even after I've critiqued myself. I know there's a lot of people, AI, artificial intelligence, gets this negative. And there are ways that it can be harmful, but there are ways that it can be good. Like all types of technology. You know, I always think of ways that I can phrase a question. I always think about ways that, you know, I could say something differently. I even have a list of different responses. So, like, for instance, you know, one thing, and maybe after you hear this, one thing that a lot of journalists say after a response from someone is absolutely. You know, because you want to let a person know that you hear what they say, you agree with what they're saying, and it's a great segue to another question. But sometimes we get so used to using that we use that all the time. It becomes our and our you know what I mean? Like when you're talking and a filler word, like, you know what I mean? And you know, it absolutely becomes that. And so what I try to do is, any word that I hear myself reusing over and over again, I write that word down. I go and look up synonyms and I try to think of some other ways I can say that, so that I'm not sounding robotic.
So
And so
to the research part.
yeah. And
Basically.
that's the research. That is the research. Always looking for ways to do something better. And for yourself, because you're not going to always have someone to say, hey, Sierra, watch the interview, loved it, but here's a couple things that you could work on. Right. You have to critique yourself. And critiquing, you have to be constructive, because just like other people could give you criticism and you feel like, okay, well, what can I fix? What can I change? And it becomes just criticism. Until you offer a solution, it is just criticism. So I embrace constructive criticism, not just from others, but also from myself. And one thing that I would ask someone who is either wanting to do what I do or wanting to be on a platform like the one that I'm on currently is ask yourself why. Why is something that we talk about in journalism all the time. When people think, oh, I just want to come on and talk about this, talk about this, talk about this, and we have to filter through it, or as we say, vet through the different types of people that come through, because you have some people that want to come on because they want to feel better about themselves. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, but it's not necessarily what they're doing for the community, what they're doing. It's more, and it's easy to be caught up in yourself. And so I always ask, not even just whenever we're asking questions, even in hard news, why is the biggest journalism question? Why? What is the purpose? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Why is this important to other people? Why do they need to know this? And if you can't answer that, then you need to go back and try to figure out why. It's simple.
Right.
It all comes back to why. So always ask yourself why you're doing something, why you won't do something, and really get to the root of what that why is. And the more you're able to expand on that why, the more you have to offer in a conversation. And you have some people that, it's, you know, when people have meetings and they're like, this could have been an email, same thing in news. If you have something going on or you're doing something and you could have just sent us an email and it's something worth a mention but not worth a 5-minute conversation, you got to figure out, how is this one thing going to stretch, and how are we going to continue to have a conversation about this one thing? So you got to be able to contribute. You got to be able to add something of essence, because Black people, Black women, Black men are not the only people watching sometimes. You know, you have to be able to appeal to that white male, that white female, that Hispanic male, that Hispanic female. You have to be able, what you're sharing has to resonate with everybody in order to be appreciated. And I know, you know, for years it's been one way or the other, but research shows, and a lot of times the ratings come from who is watching. And if you have the demographics of white females within in their mid-50s and up, and you're a Black male and you're in your early 20s, you're a whole different generation. You got a whole different experience, and things that you're talking about is not going to resonate with that person. So that person is going to be like, boo, I don't like this. This is trash, because it don't apply to me. And so you have to get in the mindset, everyone, to not think with just your own mind. This is that clear sense of thinking outside the box. So how are you going to think outside the box, and what is your why?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much today, Sierra, for sharing your incredible journey with us, and just insight on, you know, your passion for storytelling and connecting with the community. I can see that you're very passionate about what you do, and like everything you do, it just really just shines bright. So you're shining bright like a diamond, girl. So
I appreciate it.
I can't wait to find out what you have next in store for your career. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in to the Collective Experience. Please stay inspired. I was going to say stay tired. Don't stay tired. Stay inspired. And we will see you all next time. Thank you again, Sierra.
Thank you, Shemay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you to our advertisers, sponsors, and everyone who made it possible. And of course, thank you for tuning in and being part of the BrwnGrlz family. See you next time.
Oh girl, I love you just like Mary Jane. I give you everything. Damn, I hope you feel the same. Come and make it better, just like Mary Jane. Oh girl, I can't complain. I need your touch, can't get enough. Come and beat me up, it's just like Mary Jane. Beat me up from the middle of the club. You say you running low again, won't let me fill your cup. I got some papers in my section and some sponsors in the tuck. She been calling me Spliff Daddy, baby. Please don't gas me up. You can keep your mask, I don't want time with that. Trying on your heart by the time we start, baby, ain't no hiding facts. Maybe if you with it, we can start a tab. Break down them walls, you can let me in, I can be your quarterback. Come on, put our team right on the map. Oh girl, I love you just like Mary Jane.